All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of Mastermind Mondays. This is one of your hosts, Brother Damon Rawls, here with my co-host,
Phylecia, Tarel-Anu.
And this week we're going to talk about the good and evil of corporate America. So it should be a pretty juicy conversation since we both come out of that world. And so, Phylecia, do you want to start off the conversation?
Sure. Exactly. Like, we both have backgrounds in corporate America, so we've seen the good and the bad, I guess you can say. So, today I kind of wanted to highlight some pros and cons that I've personally noticed. I think, which direction should we jump into, the pros or the cons?
Let's start out with the pros. Well, first, let's go with a little background.
Okay.
Of your corporate experience, and then I'll give a little bit about mine, and then we'll go pro and then con.
All right, cool. So, like on our first show, we announced our background. So, in case you missed that, I've worked in corporate America for about 8 years at a major financial firm. So I had a background in like compliance and legal. I did a lot of auditing, stuff like that. Got my Series 7. So I moved around a little bit. I had about 3 different roles within the corporation that I stayed at. And of course, I got to see the ins and outs, the good and the bad and ugly. And I no longer am in corporate America, but I thought the show would be a good piece to kind of highlight our experience, since we are speaking about business and spirituality. So, it's not all bad. There are some good, some pros, cons, but I guess we can jump into the pros. So for me personally, what I realized about corporate America is that it's a major source of employment. So, the company I worked at had about 80,000 employees across the globe. So, that's the one big thing that stands out. If you are someone who is employee oriented, as in you don't want to be an entrepreneur, or you have no aspirations towards owning your own business, corporate America is something that you can look into. So of course, basically, it does require that you have at least a college degree for the majority of the positions there. So in that case, if you live near a major city, you can definitely find a job in corporate America as long as you have some type of, educational background to some degree. So again, for those who aren't, looking to start their own business, it's also good because people who do own their own businesses, some of them do complain that they don't have benefits or they can't afford benefits. So again, corporate America, they give you a ton of benefits. You may not be able to use them all. And I don't know the quality, it does change per company, but for the most part, if you're at a Fortune 500 company, you can be rest assured that you'll have some type of medical benefits. The quality may be good or bad, but at least you'll have access to them, where most people who work for themselves don't have that access. They have to just pay cash or figure out some other way. And of course, education. I got my Series 7 working for a financial firm. I got sponsors. I didn't have to pay for it. They even paid for the classes for me to study for it. I had friends that got completely their master's degrees for free. So if you, again, are somebody who's looking to grow in your career within, working in corporate America or any type of employment source where you need an advanced degree, you can get in, through corporate America or some type of corporation where they will sponsor you, as long as you, of course, meet a certain type of grade requirement or something like that. So, those are some pros that I found in my experience. I also, of course, cannot forget that it did give me a lot of my understanding of business. It helped me to understand being professionalism, what that is. I saw a big difference when I transitioned out and working with other people who didn't have a corporate background. I saw a significant difference. Timeliness, organization skills, it's a big difference. So if you have a corporate background, the pros is whether or not you want to stay invested in it. If you even want your own business, it is a good way to get in to learn some models that actually work. Because again, these corporations have been around for decades. Some have, for the most part. So again, you can really learn a lot about business if you go in and, get your resources that you want to get out of it and then go start your own business. So that's what I really liked about it. Now the cons. There are a lot of cons. I would say on the business end, it's all these headlines, of course, always about corporations because of their evil practices. And of course, it's not the corporation itself, it's the people behind the corporation. So, they're dumping waste in people's water, they're releasing products without testing them, stuff like that, selling your personal health information and all that stuff. So they do a lot of practices that the people behind them do a lot of practices that, of course, aren't in the best interest of the public. And they get a lot of bad press for it. And then some people who just hate the system and everything, they just go completely against corporate America. Now, on the family front, what I noticed, of course, being a black woman, of course, it's harder for black people to advance within corporate America. That's just across the board. Most people get stuck in middle management, if that. So it's not someplace, if you want to build wealth for your family economy, it's not something that I would say is the best thing to do. I would suggest learn what you can and take it back to your master plan and figure out something else for your family. But in terms of women, I've noticed that it's very draining for women physically, mentally, and spiritually, especially black women. In my studies, of course, in spiritual training and learning about holistic health, I've learned that black women are very womb-oriented. So, of course, outside of the health issues that we have with eating, diet, not exercising properly, because we can't blame everything on, corporate America. But I did notice that a lot of women had a lot of issues with their womb, like fibroids. I had one coworker who actually had to get a hysterectomy because she had fibroids, and she worked in corporate America for over a decade, prior to me getting there. And she was always stressed out at work, like always hated every job she had within corporate America. So she was very discontent with her job and herself. So I noticed that was something that people kept speaking about here and there within it. And of course, myself, I worked crazy hours. I'm sure you can relate to that, Damon. I mean, I was in there from 9 to midnight, 9 to 11. Someone has a arbitration somewhere. You have to be there just to fax the document, and they're on the other side of the country. Or I'm traveling and just you miss a plane and then you're stuck in the airport to midnight. It's just crazy, and they don't really care about that stuff. That just comes with it, and you're supposed to be able to just roll with it. So it's it's extremely draining, especially if you're a woman too. I think it's not very quick for women. It depends on the role that you do, because it makes the women to be a little bit more masculine. I noticed that the women, black or white, if you're in there some type of leadership role, they try to be like the men. So they were very masculine, or I don't know, they just had it all wrong. It didn't work. So I just found that it was taking away your feminine nature the longer that you stayed in there. And even myself, I was like that. Still trying to clean up some of that. So I can definitely tell you it's not a good environment if you're trying to be more connected with your femininity. And for me, I also realized that the black women who were moving up, especially on the East Coast in New York, a lot of women are very career focused. They put that over making families. I've heard a lot of men complain about that. Women they're all about their career. They can care less about a relationship or having a baby. The more money they make, just forget about it. It just gets worse. So I've seen, to me, it destroy the structure of black families, because more women can advance within corporate America, to me, than I've seen black men. So I've noticed them have big heads. The more money they make, they identify themselves with their job. And when they approach men in relationships, it's kind of like, it's not a natural approach. It's kind of like they think that they're the man too, or they make more money, and it's all these issues. So I've just seen it be a product of less families, because the black women are growing within corporate America, and they seem to value being independent and being able to do whatever they want to do, and look down upon their friends that are having babies and stuff. They think it's subservient to do that to a man, and you should be independent and doing whatever you want. You're young, and by the time they want to settle down, they don't realize it's too late. Or they're older now, so they don't have the same options that they think they do. And also that men kind of don't want to be with a man, they want to be with a woman. So I've had friends not realize that, like, you know, you gotta tone that down a little bit because you make a little bit more than your mate. You shouldn't be harping because he can't make more money when you didn't make more money than him when you met him. You know, it becomes an issue now that they're moving up. So, you know, I've just seen a lot of women stay single because of that, and it's not corporate America's fault. I take that to their mindset, but I just seen it be a product of them working in corporate America. So, you know, those are some of the things I've noticed in terms of the pros and the cons from my particular experience.
Yeah, for me, and we'll start with the background. My background did my time in corporate America. Worked for 3 organizations, and I've had role as a budget analyst, international budget analyst. Worked with some different people, the international countries, and et cetera, and worked for a private corporation. So whenever I think about corporate America, as I think about it, one, people have to realize, you know, what corporate America is. Corporate America is a business. A corporation is a business. And a corporation has one goal, and that's to maximize shareholders' profit. So whether it's a private corporation or whether it's a public corporation, you know, they've got to maximize the amount of money that they make. And so on the pro side, for me, what I was able to see, and my pro list is going to be short, people. So, but on the pro side, I mean, it was, you just like you said, the education. You can learn so much, you know. God, I learned so much about finance and accounting and management and leadership, you know. Sometimes you're in environments and you learn what not to be, who not to be, because somebody above you is so horrible, you know. So that was some pros. The insurance piece, I'll say, yeah, that was I worked for myself for about 8 years now, so the insurance piece is very important. But I think now with the Affordable Health Care Act changing, I think that part is going to be leveled. That's going to be leveled now. So individuals will be able to get comparable insurance to when we were in the system. So that might not be a pro anymore.
True.
But let's see. Trying to think pro.
That was
list. Exactly. You know, the list is short. Let's see. What else is a pro that I can think of? The ability to see, for me, I was able to see how commerce really worked on a larger scale. You know, sometimes when you're not in a big organization, or depending on where you are in an organization, you don't really see how the world works, you know, and how, especially when I saw international, how things like hotels, where in the States, you know, you and I, Phylecia, would get together and put our money together and buy a hotel, whether that's a Marriott or Best Western or any of those guys. But, you know, in an Arab country, you know, that's the Shah who owns the hotel, or it's the general who owns the hotel. And it's a whole different machine overseas. So, corporate America, it was a beautiful training ground. I'll say that much. It was a beautiful training ground. Now, as far as, let's see, that was the pros. Cons,
long list, right?
Yeah. I don't think we have enough time for me to do my whole list. No, seriously. I mean, cons. It was a drain. For me personally, it was a spiritually draining place. Being someone, I knew that one thing I know about business is that businesses are dreams, you know. And I was always building someone else's dream. So it bothered me deep down. It bothered me every day, no matter, from the age of 22, 3, when I got out of college and got my first job. It just always bothered me that I was building someone else's dream. So, that was a con. The con was, for me, was knowing that I was just a cog in the wheel. And I can remember a conversation with one of my bosses years and years ago. I mean, this guy, he's at VP level, and he said, Damon, if I died tomorrow, this company's going to still be moving, and they'll have me replaced within the week. And I was just out of school, so I wasn't smart enough or experienced enough to understand that, you know. But now I get it. You know, that thing is a machine. These businesses are machines, and you're just a part of the machine. And you don't need to be too smart either. You know, so
no, not at all. That's one thing I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, go ahead. You good?
Okay, I just wanted to mention, like, I noticed if you're liked very well, if you're well liked, that's all you need to be. Outside, of course, getting your entrance stuff to get into the corporation. But I noticed that people that were promoted or moving up quickly is just because they had the connection. So it wasn't anything to do with what they knew or how well they were good at being managers. It was basically how well liked you are. So if you have buddies and connections and all that stuff within corporate America, you can really advance just based on that alone. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely, the machine is there, you know, and I can remember in one organization I was in, and I wanted to change a process, and so I took it up the ladder and was like, hey, we could save some money if we did this, you know, if we did this and we did that. I remember one of my bosses saying, well, she wasn't really a boss, she was kind of a higher level, but almost a peer. And she said, Damon, we don't need superstars. We just need somebody who can push the buttons. You know, and that's the attitude. That's the attitude, because if you're a superstar, go ahead and do your own thing. That's how most companies are. If you're a superstar, go do your own thing.
Yeah.
You know, go. You know, most companies are like, hey, go do your own business. We got this system working. We don't need you coming in here and screwing it up. So,
exactly.
You and your bright ideas, kid, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. So, let's see, what else was a con? It's the way people treated people. That really, the whole butt kissing and that stuff never worked for me. And no one is authentic. Like, everyone is fake.
Absolutely.
Everyone there is fake because it's designed for you to be fake. It's like, on Monday morning, your boss walks over to you. How are you doing today? And you're like, you know, you could have said, man, I had a car wreck this morning, and my wife's talking about divorce. It's just a pretty bad day. But no, you can't really, you can't divulge all that. It's, no, I'm fine. Everything's perfect. Everybody's perfect. Everything is okay. So you get this fakeness that evolves in the organization. All of them, everywhere, you know. Like, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, and then that doing more with less culture that we live in now. Just like you said, you know, spending all night at an office, and I mean, I was in an organization at one point. I ran a team that the previous team that we had 20-something people on the team. Well, after some restructuring, we had like 4 people on the team. But the work didn't restructure. Just the people restructured, you know. The work didn't, so we were doing all this work. that took a team to do. And we were in reporting, so the work had to get done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was a really bad scene. It's a really bad scene, so I can't. There's a lot of cons. I can keep going, but I won't manipulate most of the time with my cons. But and women and the women. Okay, we'll go. I'm gonna talk one more time about the women, and then we'll be done with my cons. And I did notice that too with the women, the way they behave. Mm-hmm. And this is not a dig on women. This is a dig on everybody. Everybody in corporate America pretends to be something that they're not. So everyone wants to be this, you know, they act like this old gray-haired white dude. Even women. Black women, white women. And so women do it and they come off like, you know, people use the word, you know, so, and it's inauthentic. Mm-hmm. It's inauthentic. You know, you have some companies now who the women kind of run it with the natural gifts that the creator has given them. And it's just totally different. The business is totally different. Mm-hmm. But when most of them run it trying to be something else, somebody else, it's the same thing. You know, it's a tearing down of the spirit and of the soul, and that's why most people feel so bad in those organizations. And isn't it amazing that I would probably say statistically, 90% of the people in a company hate it.
Absolutely.
Hate it.
Especially minorities. Yeah.
So spiritually, think about the energy in a building that 90% of the people in that building hate being there. And you wonder why you get sick all the time when you're in an office. And you wonder why, you know, like if you start to analyze what you go through in that environment, you'll realize why you were sick all the time and why you went through the things you did, the hags and all those things. It must have been spitting off some really bad spiritual energy.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's
the environment, so yeah.
Exactly. That's what I noticed when I was working, and of course learning more about the spirituality in nature, that I couldn't stand being in that environment more than like an hour clip at a time. Like, talk about breaks. I was like break queen, and like, look, I need my coffee break. I need to go to the water. I need something because I can't sit here. That's why I needed a job where I had to travel. I'm like, I need to get out of here because like that artificial lighting. It's AC. If you're in a certain part of the building, you can't even see outside. You don't know if it's snowing or raining until 5 o'clock. It's like you're just in a cocoon in this artificial environment for 8 hours of your day, more than 8 hours of your day, every single day. And it does really take a toll on your health, you know, especially when, like you said, everybody has this negative mindset about it. So it does take a toll on you spiritually, mentally, and physically. So it's just something to be mindful of when you are going into it. If you can have a purpose, you just got to know how to balance yourself and protect yourself when you go into those environments.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you're going there, go there specifically for a reason. Mm-hmm. And do everything you can to protect yourself. And, you know, get what you need and you keep it pushing.
Exactly.
As the kids say.
Keep it moving. You know what else I want to add? A good movie that, to me, really gives a good synopsis of corporate America is Office Space. Office Space and The Wolves of Wall Street. So they're both, one's a comedy, but to me it's dead on. Like the cheesy, you know, it's Jean's Day and it's Harry's birthday and all that cheesiness. And then Wolves of Wall Street was a true story. And it's so funny. I had lunch with my friend yesterday who still works in corporate America. And she's telling me about her whole work stuff. And I'm just like, oh, God, I can't even think about it. So it sounds so just stressful. But she was mentioning that movie because she works to get an audit and people that regulated the industry at the time. So she was saying how that movie was not even I thought the movie was exaggerated. She said that wasn't even close to what actually happened. Like, it was way more indulgent, way more crazy in terms of all the riskiness and stuff he was doing. So you have both sides of, you know, the scene to me if you want to check out what corporate America is about. Because like you said, how people talk to you when they're phony. In finance, people talk very harsh. It's cursing, it's yelling, it's whatever. They want to make money and they don't care how they do it. So if you're on somebody's team, you might get cursed at or you might get talked to in a certain way. And then you start talking like that, you know. So it's just something that kind of wears on you. And a lot of communication issues came from like working in that environment. I'm like, this is how we talk. Like, this is normal, no? Like,
yeah, you take it home like because it's... Yeah, you take it home because that's the bulk of your work week. The bulk of your week, not work week. The bulk of your week is spent with individuals you don't like, in environments you don't like, doing things you don't like to do.
Yeah, you get a pat on the shoulder for talking to somebody like crap because it's like, well, you got to get the work done. Good. Keep doing it. Like, you don't get called into the office for speaking harshly to somebody in corporate America unless somebody may go to HR or something, you know. But for the most part, it's like, that's how we talk, you know. In finance, I wouldn't say corporate America. Finance is very busy, deadline oriented, want to make money, the market's moving. They will, it's not friendly. So it's like you got to be equipped to adjust to certain environments and try to not take it back home. You know, might have some problems.
Yeah, definitely. It is but it's a necessary evil, you know. It's the world moved from an agrarian economy, you know, where we made our money off the land, and then you had factories and corporations start sprouting up, and so here we are today. But we're moving back to that, you know. We're moving back to a level of business ownership. So people, you know, where you could work for a company for 40 years, 50 years, and be taken care of.
Not anymore.
Now, no. It is all about them and what they need to take care of. So
exactly. Okay. Well, as everyone, I hope you know that we are at Anu Nation is currently undergoing the self-actualization with the cosmic forces of West Africa tour. Very long title, but it has commenced. We are currently in California, taking a little reprieve, getting ready to go back out. And our next stop will be in Dallas, Texas on August 15th. We will be at Pan-African Connection bookstores, one of the most cultural bookstores in the area. So definitely come out and check us out if you will be there. He's going to be giving his, excellent lecture on self-actualization as well as giving consultations afterwards. And then the next day, Saturday, the 16th and 17th, we will be in New Orleans at the King and Queen Emporium. So again, come check us out if you are in the New Orleans area. And to learn about the details of the event, you can visit us at www.sadulhouse.org. And you can check out our events listing to see all the events. And of course, please RSVP. So next up is in the news. Today, again, we have another interesting article. Unfortunately, it's another con about corporate America. The article that we discussed is called 5 Evil Corporations Deserving Your Outrage. So again, like Damon was saying, not all are bad, but some are pretty bad. So Brother Damon, what did you think about this article?
Oh man. This article, and it talks about the evil corporation. And, Lordy. Okay, let me just get into it. I wasn't amazed at what they've done, but I was just amazed that it blew over. You know, talking about some of the things that some of the companies were doing, and in particular, one that makes me, this one, I don't understand this. And you can jump in here, but I'm going to give you my take. Okay, let's talk about Nestle real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Nestle, there was a point in time, and most people probably don't even think about it, but it just made me dawn on it. There was a point in time, that formula didn't exist for babies. Mm-hmm. That was a time where breast milk was natural. So when Nestle created this product called, formulas. So, but what they did to sell formulas is that they made it seem like it was a medical, like doctors were pushing it, like it was better for you than a mother's milk. Mm. And now here's the logic to me, and I'm a guy, so I don't get it. Now, if a baby starts crying, if a woman pulls out her breast and begins to breastfeed, it is naturally ready. It comes with all the nutrients and minerals that this child needs for development. It comes with spiritual connection, etc. Why in the hell, and I just said it, does somebody feel like when your baby starts crying, you need to go to the kitchen, take a spoonful of this stuff, start mixing it with whatever you mix it with, shake the bottle, warm it however you're going to warm it, with a microwave or with, on the stove top. Then your baby's still crying. And then you got to get the right temperature. Then your baby is allergic to the stuff. So now they come out with sore foam. It's stupid to me. It's stupid. It's stupid and it's illogical for a human being to want to create something that is money driven. So I'm sorry, I'm off my rant now. I'm off my rant. But it just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense that a woman would even do it. Now, granted, I understand that women have health issues, which they may not be able to breastfeed, etc. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just talking about generally. Mm-hmm. Generally. I don't get it. So for this company to create that product, it's a little bit of evil.
Well, what I thought... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, I was just going to say, which is the topic of the article, 5 Evil Corporations. Mm-hmm. So, go ahead.
Well, just to touch on that particular company, what I thought was interesting was that they were condoning it over natural milk. So it was one thing to make it, but then their campaigns were saying that, this is healthier than the milk that comes out of your body. Now, of course, depending on what you put in your body, it might be true or might not be. All of us don't eat healthy, and, everyone's not having a healthy pregnancy out there. But the campaigns were to make everyone think that this is way healthier than your natural milk that you produce. And what I don't understand, again, I'm not a mother, but I'm a woman. I don't understand how, if you're a woman, why would you buy that and think that that's true? And then they were saying that this led to a lot of malnutrition and death in unborn, or in infants, the death rate of infants. So, mainly in undeveloped countries, but still, I guess most of us rely on media and we believe what they're saying in these companies. You think that they were even saying that they had their salespeople dressed up like nurses. So I guess, in some other country, you may think, okay, they must know what they're talking about. But in a country like this, I just couldn't see how you would buy that. Now, again, I'm not a mom, so I don't know why you would choose formula over breast milk, even if I thought maybe it was a time constraint, but then I learned that, you can just pump, you can just pump and have it all ready to go. So it seems like there are still options where you can make sure that you're giving your baby natural milk. But I was just surprised that their manipulation of people, the women, to the point where they dressed up their reps like nurses. I thought that was really horrible. And that's Nestle. And I used to, Nestle Crunch all day. It's like, like they got these commercials and they look all innocent, and in the background, this is happening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, the other one that I think was top, and it was the first one listed, was Coca-Cola. Now, that was my favorite. Well, no, between Coke and Pepsi, it was always bait. But when I used to drink soda, Coke was on the list. And again, you have the commercials, the Santa Claus, and all this good stuff going on. You just think it's like, positive. And on the back, can you say, I couldn't believe, like, the article, they are extremely gangster. They are killing people. They said somebody got shot dead right at one of the plants. And of course they were trying to say that they weren't doing it, but they were saying these unions, when the workers don't stay in line, they want to revolt or anything. They have like a paramilitary organization making sure that the workers are working. Again, in like Guatemala and countries like that. But I couldn't believe that people were being beaten, kidnapped, murdered over. Yeah, they're serious about their money. That's all I can say. And again, you just don't realize this is going on in the background. And of course, the other one that stood out to me was, I've never heard of this company. It's called Syngenta, Synge.
Yes, that was the one that that was the second one that stood out to me. So go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's fine. Just want to make a quick, I'd never heard of them, but I watched a documentary called Food Inc. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it basically tells you the business of food. Okay. Remember the one company called it's on the article, Monsanto?
Monsanto, yeah.
And the people were saying, the farmers were saying how people in black coats and cars are coming to our homes in the middle of the night, trying to make sure that soybean, like, how did the soybean get on your farm? Like, it seemed like it was like men in black coming to their house, like making sure they were not stealing their product, or they were, going to beat them up or something. It's like, what? Over a soybean. But it just seems like these companies, the people, I will say, behind them, mean business, So on the outside, like you said, it's very fake. On the outside, their image and their symbols look all positive. And some of them on the back end, this is happening, So, yeah, I just thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah, and then for people who want to know that it's Monsanto, Syngenta, Syngenta, Genta, is the equivalent of Monsanto in Switzerland. And they've introduced genetically modified corn and just patented for all this stuff. The same stuff that we scream at Monsanto for, these guys are their equal. And
they were saying
it's just like ADM, Archer Daniel Midland, all these guys, I think there's a local company here in my city that they are the largest gas station company, the largest privately owned gas station company in the world. And they're actually based out of here in Tennessee. And they just got in trouble for stealing from small trucking companies during, overcharging them, not giving them their rebate money and essentially overcharging them. So, but they're small companies, who got trucking companies, and, they're small guys, and they wouldn't let these guys know that they had money coming back, and I think that they have like a $95 million lawsuit just recently against them. So, but it was said in some of the wiretaps that the owners, everybody knew, and they were receiving about $400,000 a month off the proceeds of the theft. And I was like, whew, man, see? All this money they made, So it's amazing. It's amazing sometimes when you sit back and think about it. The bad guys, Yeah. And they're good guys, but the bad guys too, so.
Yeah. But like you said, that was your intro into your piece where they're all about making money. So, they're, trying to get around loopholes with the law, even if it's going to violate some health code. If it's hazardous to the public, they don't care. I won't say all, but I'm just saying a lot of these companies that are major, and that's how they stay in business, trying to make that money. And Yeah, so that was an interesting list. Also, who was on this list was CVS. Theirs was not. It didn't sound so sexy as the other ones, but it was still pretty bad. They're selling customer information, just deceptive practices, trying to get major contracts with corporations that the higher expensive companies had better products than the lower companies. So again, of course, that makes it more money for the person who goes in to get their, prescription filled. People always complain about that. I can't afford this, and they're telling you, well, that's the best product that we have. So that's always a problem. And of course, selling your information and marketing things to you. And again, if people aren't well informed, they will fall for it because they trust this company and they trust this name. So just something to keep in mind on. And again, if you want to check out this article, it's on theblot.com, and that's THEBLOT.com. So it's a very interesting article, and they have a lot more interesting topics on there as well. Did you have any more to add to that?
No, that was it.
Okay.
I could go on and on.
All right, so we'll take a short break for another announcement.
Are you stuck? If you're feeling stuck right now in your job, your career, your relationships, let Damon Rawls help you. All his life, Damon has been very successful in business and corporate America, and yet he knows what it's like to feel stuck as well. In fact, one of his specialties is helping people just like yourself free themselves from all the things that are holding them back. You see, over the years, Damon has perfected a neat little trick that he calls Find Your Inner Freak. It's the key to unlocking the secrets of personal success that are already there inside you, waiting to get out. He'll uncover your real strengths and your hidden weaknesses or blind spots. He'll even create a step-by-step, custom-tailored life plan that will enable you to get out of the rut you're in. You owe it to yourself to give this a try. Find Your Inner Freak is proven to help people from all walks of life. And since the cost is so low, you'd be foolish not to give it an honest try. Get started today for the low cost of $47. Contact Damon at 865-271-8021 or Damon at DamonRawls.com. Once again, that's 865-271-8021 or Damon, D-A-M-O-N, at DamonRawls, DamonRawls.com.
So our next segment, folks, is your vital energy with one of the other students and named Temu Igina, and it's your vital energy. Here she is.
Peace and joy. Thank you for joining me today, your host, Temu Igina, for another episode of Your Vital Energy. I'd like to start this segment off with our opening meditation. If you can take a moment wherever you are, whether you're driving, sitting, standing, just take in one good breath deep down into your diaphragm. Hold it for a 2-second count and then release. Exhale slightly longer than you inhaled. And once again, inhale and exhale. May the world be at peace. May we all have an open heart. May we all know the beauty of our true nature. May we all be healed. May we all serve as a gift of peace to each other. May it be so. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to discuss with you setting and meeting your goals. Basically, I just want to give you a brief tip. As holistic entrepreneurs, or just in our everyday life, it is extremely important to set goals. Why? It's pretty simple. If you don't have goals that are set, you're sort of wandering aimlessly, not really sure what you're doing day after day. And although you might have wonderful and great ideas, you might notice they're not necessarily coming to fruition because you haven't taken that important step, the step of actually writing the goals down. Here's an exercise for you. One of the best ways to meet your goals is to write them down. Each night before you go to bed, it would be a great idea to write down what your intentions are for the next day, what goals you would like to meet, whether they are a series of long-term goals and it's just a goal along the way to get you to where you need to go, or it's a short-term goal, something as simple as doing the dishes, doing the laundry, and something as important as sitting down at vistaprint.com and creating the business cards that you need for yourself. There's nothing worse than being out on the street and networking, because you want to use every opportunity for networking, to be out and meet someone of interest or someone that you are hoping to share your passion with, and you don't have a business card. Writing your number down on the napkin or on a little receipt or a scratch piece of paper that's in your pocket, your car, or your wallet doesn't necessarily inspire the greatest impression. So business cards are important, but I digress. In the evening, it's a good idea to write down your objectives for the next day. And like I said, it can be something that is part of a long-term series. Like, for instance, you're hoping to open your own business, and you might set the goal to have that business opened in 6 months. Say you've already scoped out the place where you're going to have your business. You might need to set down the goal that in 2 weeks you're going to contact the owner regarding the lease. You might be contacting a cleaning group to come in to clean the office for you, whatever. It's important to write down whatever it is that you plan to do, because when you wake up the next morning, you may not necessarily remember all of the things that you brainstormed the night before. So writing down goals. In the morning, it's always a good idea to start the morning off with a 5 to 10 minute meditation, a silent meditation. It can be just as simple as soon as you wake up in the morning, before you let your feet hit the floor, take a few moments, put your right hand over your heart area and your left hand over your abdomen area, and focus on breathing, inhaling in and holding that breath, and exhaling out. And doing that just for the time. You want to do it slowly and gradually for 5 to 10 minutes. And once you are out of bed and you're dressed and you're having your morning cup of coffee or your morning cup of tea, it's a good idea to get out a notebook, journal, or planner and write down first your intention for the day. You can review your intention that you had the night before. After meditation, you might discover that you have another intention that you want to set, or you want to embellish the intention that you already set the night before. You will also take time to review whatever goals, appointments, and ideas that you wrote down the night before, so that throughout your day you sort of are able to keep a mental schedule going in your mind, what you would like to do. Now, it's not necessarily about a time frame, because if you're like me, you like your day to be a little bit on the spontaneous side. But it is important to have that structure that you're flowing in, because otherwise you'll get to the end of your day and realize that you spent time not really doing what was best to help you to reach your goals, to get your business open. You might realize that time slipped by you. So writing your goals down the night before and setting intentions the morning of is a great way to manage your time and to utilize your energy as best you can to realizing your dream. I would like to share with you the healing tip for this segment. And I noticed today that I was feeling a bit pressure in the head, a little headachy, a little pain in the shoulders, and it's allergy seasons, whether it's hay fever or maybe some mold is starting to come up, but I don't know what it is. A lot of people around me, I know they've been sniffling and sneezing, not due to a cold, but because of allergies. Peppermint essential oil is a really good oil to have on your person, in your pocket, your purse, your car. Peppermint oil is great for helping the sinuses to stay open and to stay clear. You can take peppermint oil and rub it on the very tips of your finger and the very top of your finger, right at the base of your fingernail, to rub that in and to press your fingertips while you do that. That is the reflex points for your sinuses. You can also put peppermint essential oil on your toes. I know that I've probably mentioned this before in previous episodes, but I was just thinking it is that time of the year to bring out peppermint essential oil once again. And also, peppermint tea is another good herb to take to help with the pressure of sinuses and headaches. Peppermint tea with a little organic cane sugar or raw honey. Raw honey that is produced in your area is probably the best for you to take because it sort of has the antidote for whether it's, what is that weed called? Not milkweed. Let's see, hay fever. There's whatever the weed is that sort of flows around in the air and it gets gets everyone's allergies acting up. When you have honey that is local to where you live or as close to where you live as possible, that means the bees are collecting, from all of the nectar all around and the pollen and all of that good stuff is packed into that raw honey. And I'd also like to share with you the healing stone for today, which is one of my favorite stones. It's called labradorite. Labradorite is associated with the astrological signs of Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Leo. It is in the feldspar family, which is similar to moonstone. Labradorite is a stone of wisdom. And also, labradorite, it allows for recognition that humanity represents the being of light, transcending the limitations of the past and the thoughts of the future, and embracing the infinite possibilities of the moment. It helps one to both be and to proceed with the assurance that the light is always there, surrounding and pure. And that light, that energy, the energy of love, the energy of the source of life, is always there to inspire you and encourage you in the pursuit of your goals, your dreams. And labradorite helps with the analytical and rational abilities. It further promotes the synthesis of intellectual thought with the intuitive, mystical, and psychic wisdom. I enjoy carrying a piece of labradorite in my pocket at all times. I like to sleep with labradorite beneath my pillow. It has a wonderful iridescent glow to it, almost as if it's glowing from within. And labradorite vibrates to the numbers 6 and 7. It has been used in the treatment of disorders of the brain to stimulate mental acuity and to reduce anxiety and stress. So, the next time you're at your favorite crystal store, pick up a piece of labradorite. The stone is absolutely beautiful. It generally has an overall deep greenish gray sort of color to it, and then within that there's flecks of purples and blues and oranges and yellows and sometimes pink that sort of interplay with the reflection of light. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to end with a closing meditation. So if you can take a moment and center yourself. May I and all beings be filled with loving kindness. May I and all beings be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I and all beings be well in body and mind. May I and all beings be happy and free. May it be so. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of Your Vital Energy. I thank you. My name is Tarel-Anu. See you next time.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us for another segment of Mastermind Mondays. Again, if you have questions, please contact us at mastermindsmonday@gmail.com. Today we do not have anything in the queue, but we do have a special call, I should say, coming in from Chief Yuya himself. So welcome, Chief Yuya.
Peace, everyone. And this has been a wonderful conversation that you two have engaged upon, and I'm thankful for it. The necessity of corporate America, and whether we call them the good and the bad, or the pleasure and the unpleasurable, these are subjects, topics, and tenets that we need to discuss. The first thing that we need to really look at is that America itself is a corporation. And with that, a corporation in part is defined by a body. In essence, it's a governing body. So it's a group of people who get together and decide, okay, we need to govern certain things, and we need to affect certain laws and statutes and policies. So we have to create a body that's on one accord. And one of the challenges that we have is that when we enter that environment, some of us come in with the notion that we're going to revolutionize the environment, or we're going to take it over in some way, shape, form, or fashion, as if we're going to be a cancerous cell within the body of the corporation. And we sometimes forget the fact that the corporation has the ability to expel us as it would expel any other toxin from its body. So sometimes we have to go in with a stronger economic plan. And the first understanding that we must hold on to is that money is what destabilizes an economy. So before your economy even begins, you have to have an understanding of relationships. Relationships are what cement what an economy is, and the relationships to individuals and people. This is why this was practiced and this was perfected in indigenous culture on the continent of Africa. Relationships were more important than anything, and in many places that still holds true, because the relationships are the basis of your economy. Okay, even large corporations, the way they interact, there is no money shared between them. Everything works on what we call credit or business credit. So if you have a company such as Pepsi and they need to buy something from IBM, or they need to buy something from Apple, they don't actually deposit money in Apple's bank account. Okay, it's all based off of a relationship. So when you come in with that understanding, it will help you greatly. Now, I have to say something, because it is my call and my duty to share the things that are effective. And understand that whenever I say something, I say it because of a love for my culture, a love for my people, and a love for this movement towards freedom. And what we're speaking about here is financial freedom, economic freedom, the ability to produce, barter, and trade, reward, and punish as we see fit based on our own definition, because whoever you allow to reward or punish you is who you are allowing to define you. So we have to define our own economy. We have to define our own methods and measurements for success. So based on our measurements for success, I will tell you this, that if you are 40 or over and you are working for someone else, you are failing. If you're not working in an environment where you're supporting an independent movement for your own communal structure at 40 or over, there's something wrong. When you enter into the corporate environment, certainly those pros that were spoken about, those are all the things that are accessible to you. And just so you know, I'm also one who spent over a decade in the corporate environment in the IT field as an executive, working my way up from a printer technician. So I do understand that world greatly, and I still use some of the tenets that I learned from that world, but I knew there was a time to get out. And the day that I got out, I decided, it was a quick decision, and I said, if I come in here tomorrow and I spend one more moment in this space, I will compromise a portion of my manhood that I will never have returned to me. So it's time to leave, because my manhood is important. If I lose that, then I can do less for my community, and I need to bring my full integrous structure to the table. Okay, so when you enter into a corporate environment, you need to look at it as a training ground, but it's really a training ground for children. It has laws and protocols, doctrines and statutes that govern those who do not have the emotional or financial maturity to govern themselves. So once you learn those tools and you mature in that environment, it is not a space where you should be spending your golden years or giving up the best years of your life to fuel and propel someone else's vision. So you go there, you learn what you should learn, and then you come out. Independent finance and interdependent communal finances and economy is what we're about. That is how we get out of this mess. We don't get out of this mess by funneling worthless paper money into our initiatives and things that we want to do. It will not work no matter how you try to make it work. If you are that age or over 40, if you're in your mid 40s and you're still working for someone else, you start enacting your plan for escape now. You start enacting your escape plan, your exodus, okay, your exit strategy, whatever you want to call it. You're releasing from that space. So take it or leave it. You know, you can still stay in that space, and if that space feels good to you and you feel comfortable, then certainly go ahead and do that. The economic game and establishing economy are for those who understand the important place that it holds in their own communities, as you can see reflected throughout other communities. And as you've often heard me said, at the root and foundation of it all is family. Remember, we're talking about relationships. Stability breeds stability. In order to have a stable economy, you must have stable communities. In order to have stable communities, you must have stable families. Stability breeds stability. So even when you're looking to court and mate someone, look for someone who comes from a stable background. It's important. They will bring stability to your life and your home, just as the mind of the masculine energy brings stability and order to the power and the creative force of the chaotic feminine energy. So with that, thank you so much for this opportunity and time to share this with you all. And I hand it back over to our very capable host of Masterminds. And remember, a mind is different than a brain. And what we're speaking about in this segment is the ability to monitor, control, and express the greatest and highest ideas of your mind. Ashe.
All right, folks. So thank you, everybody, for joining us again for Mastermind Mondays. And remember, you can email us questions about business, spirituality. We'll answer those questions. So you can email us at mastermindmondays@gmail.com. Just like it sounds, mastermindmondays@gmail.com. And we will answer your questions. Sorry we didn't get to your questions this week, but we had a special call in from Chief, and so this is a great opportunity. But we will answer questions next week. So call in, and with that, we appreciate you listening to the show. Peace.
Peace.